What's up to the 22,000 Grimdark enjoyers of my channel, and welcome back to another thematic list build. Sadly, my very passionate, exciting, thought-provoking Galaxy Brain Tau list build underperformed. Surprise, surprise. It seems I must return to Power Armor. This one is for a very classy Space Marine chapter, a successor chapter that proudly carries Dorn's legacy into the 41st millennium. A chapter that emblemizes the heroic aspect of the Adeptus Astartes. It's a thematic list build for the Crimson Fists. The Crimson Fists don't have rules in 10th edition, an unideal state of affairs for a chapter of such legacy. In 10th edition, the only way to gain a subfaction keyword is to field a named character which has that keyword. Yes, a truly awkward paradigm indeed, where one's army can only be Emperor's children if Lucius the Eternal is on the battlefield.
You know what GW is?
It's a bit special.
And it's even more awkward for the Crimson Fists because Pedro Cantor has the Imperial Fists keyword instead. As an Imperial Fist successor, it may feel appropriate to use the Anvil Siege Force for the Crimson Fists. But I think the First Company Task Force is quite apt. Plus, I've already done a list build featuring the Anvil Siege Force. The detachment rule offered by the First Company Task Force is Extremis Level Threat, a mechanic with probably the most badass name of any detachment rule, which is undermined from Oaths of Moment offering full rerolls every round as standard during the index period of 10th edition. In spite of that, being able to grant army-wide reroll wounds versus your Oath's target can still be very potent, even if it's just once per battle. The suite of enhancements here are fine. We've got a fight phase booster for more attacks, a battle shock booster to debilitate enemy units, an objective control booster, and a 5-up feel no pain. They all have a hook where each offers its perk to the bearer, but once per battle that perk can extend to the bearer's unit, with the exception of the battle shock one, which just gets better. The stratagem selection is also fairly adequate, but most are locked to Veteran and Terminator units, with the exception of Armor of Contempt. Standouts for me are Heroes of the Chapter, which adds pluses to hit and wound rolls based on whether a unit is below starting or half strength, and Legendary Fortitude, which subtracts damage by 1 in the fight phase, both of which are very thematic for Crimson Fists. Also, Orbital Teleportarium is very cool, giving Terminators that uppy-downy utility, which ensures their low mobility isn't as big of a hindrance. Now, let's head over to the list breakdown. In a change of pace, leading this First Company Task Force is none other than the Chapter Master of the Crimson Fists, Pedro Cantor. Offensively, he's armed with Dorn's Arrow and the Fist of Retribution. The Fist is packing a spicy damage 3 over the standard Captain's Power Fist, and Dorn's Arrow is pretty nutty, effectively giving Pedro a 2-shot heavy bolter, which hits on 2s, or 4 shots if he's in rapid-fire range. Defensively, he has the Captain's stat line, but he's got a 2-up armor save, as well as a 6-up feel no pain. Ability-wise, Pedro has some fun offerings. To the last provides his unit +1 to their hit and wound rolls based on being below unit strength thresholds.
Meaning?
His unit are the definitive Heroes of the Chapter, and Oath of Rin is a once per battle ability used in either player's command phase, which increases the attacks of weapons in Pedro's unit by 1 until the end of the turn. For clarity, that is all weapons, not just melee ones. With that in mind, Pedro will be leading a fat squad of Sternguard veterans. 8 of those vets will have Sternguard bolt rifles, 2 will have heavy bolters, and the Sergeant, of course, has a Power Fist. This squad has quite the number of ranged attacks, all of which have devastating wounds, and their ability Sternguard Focus allows them to reroll wound rolls of 1 versus your Oaths of Moment target. Paired with Pedro's Oath of Rin, and a bit of careful planning, they can make for quite a potent Overwatch squad. And before moving on from Pedro Cantor, I'll be attaching an Ancient to his unit of Sternguard. Now you might be asking,
Why?
Well, dear viewers, because this unit is our thematic centerpiece. They are here to serve the dream, a band of Crimson Fist vets holding to their banner, staying defiant to the last. Next we have a unit of 6 Blade Guard veterans. A melee dedicated elite infantry squad which ideally wants to fight into elite infantry. Our second ancient of this list is attached to that Blade Guard squad. And while the Blade Guard ancient doesn't have a blade of his own, his abilities see each model in his unit add 1 to their objective control characteristic. And once per battle, he can add 1 to the melee attacks characteristic of models in his unit as well. Now, to push this to the extreme, he's been given the enhancement, the Imperium Sword, which effectively gives him another instance of that perk. This results in his Blade Guard squad making a nasty 36 attacks. Next we have our reserve forces, taking the form of 2 5-man Terminator squads. They're loaded identically, all with power fists and storm bolters, with one taking a Cyclone missile launcher. I've gone with the standard type over assault Terminators because it's more to our classic motif, and because they have fists. Each Terminator squad has a leader. The first is led by a captain in Terminator armor. Because of his Imperium Sword ability, blame GW for the confusion, his squad will be better suited to deep strike charges. To serve that, he's been given the Rights of War enhancement. It's an enhancement that will aid in his unit's ability to flip objectives, and his own Rights of Battle ability will be handy for opportunistic stratagem use. The second Terminator squad will be led by a Librarian. This squad is poised to arrive at critical zones, with the aim of being difficult to shift, partially through making use of his own Psychic Hood for psychic defense, and using the enhancement Iron Resolve, which once per battle will give those Terminators a 5-up feel no pain. Situated in your table half, ideally behind obscuring terrain, are a squad of Vanguard veterans with jump packs. They will be waiting in the wings to reactively zone out enemy deep strikers and reactively support objectives in the midfield. And protecting your home field objective is another squad of 10 Sternguard veterans. They're configured like the previous squad. And while it's unideal to use veterans of such status to camp on your home field, you have the option to sticky it using the Duty and Honor stratagem. And providing long-range anti-armor support are 2 Ballistus Dreadnoughts. These extra-large box dreads bring with them some much-needed anti-armor weaponry, while providing a nod to the classics. This brings us to the transports. Now, while I would love to put Pedro's unit and the Blade Guard vets into rhinos for more of a classic flavor, we can't because the game is cringe.
Shame.
And so I'll be taking an Impulsor for the Blade Guard and a Land Raider for Pedro's unit. The Land Raider brings with it more anti-armor weaponry, and given that it's for a Chapter Master, a transport of such prestige does feel appropriate. And that's the list, clocking in at an even 2,000 points. Well, until points change. This one snuck up on me. Due to the Crimson Fist's reputation as veterans, I think their themes are well suited to the First Company Task Force. And with that in mind, the list features units of status, whether they be veterans, commanders, or ancients. I also think it's neat that quite a few of those units also happen to have once per battle abilities of their own, as it feeds into the mechanical design around the First Company Task Force, as seen in the detachment rule and enhancements.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
That's a wrap on this very classy Crimson Fists list build. If you enjoyed this video, there are buttons for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And special thanks to Julius Maximus, as well as my other generous patrons and channel members. I'm trying to set things up so channel members and patrons get early access to videos. Just a little something for those who help keep the dream alive. Also, I've been doing hobby live streams. So if chill hobby jams are your thing, join in, and let's get those projects done. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next one.